Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle Animation Analysis video. I am cracking my knuckles right now, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to be one fat video. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, today we are going to be taking a look at the brand new animations for the new worldwide celebration, VEGITO Blue and Zamasu. Of course, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at VEGITO Blue, and then we are going to be taking a look at Zamasu in the next video. I am very, very excited to take a look at these. I have so many thoughts about these animations, considering I have watched these animations quite a few times now. As per usual, we are going to watch through them one time first, and then we will go ahead and hit them with the funny slow-mo. Not only that, of course, I always like to preface these videos with the fact that I am by no means a professional animator or anything like that. I just look at Dokkan animations all the time. I look at all the assets and what makes up these Dokkan animations. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what makes a good animation. Hopefully I don't stutter too much in this video, because it is very, very early in the morning after doing the data download for these guys. So hopefully my words make sense to you, because I needed to get these videos out today. Regardless though, these guys are very, very interesting in the animation department. I have quite a few thoughts on all of the animations, to be honest with you. To kind of give you my general thoughts, as I usually like to do in the beginning of these videos, and then we kind of see if they sort of change a little bit as we go through the videos. I'm not really a fan of any of the Blue Boy Supers. There's like a couple moments from them where I'm like, ooh, that looks mad nice. But overall, I definitely think that easily, right, this animation right here, a lot of the transformation parts in this are very good. This 12 key Superman is really something else. We'll talk about it more when we get to it, but certainly what were they cooking? I'm not too sure. It is very cool that VEGITO does do the final flash. However, it is just a little strange. Now this animation right here, you can tell this is where the budget went. Obviously, Dokkan Battle was sort of touting that they were doing a Dokkan original animation for VEGITO, and they certainly did not disappoint. This animation feels like it could end at 3 different places, to be honest with you, but it just keeps going, and it's so cool. I think it's clear that not only for the 18 key super, but also this animation for the active skill is really where they put all of their budget. I think that is pretty clear to see for this unit, right? Even like VEGITO's 12 key, like I said, is kind of just sort of eh. But those two, bro, the 18 key and this one, oh, man, they cook so hard. The KO screen, the glowing eyes, bro. It's so unnecessary, but it makes me love it so much more. By the way, I will say the only unfortunate thing about recording this video and trying to get it out today, obviously this video will do much better if I record it now, and then obviously upload it today, but we do not have a ton of comparisons, unfortunately, to take a look at, because obviously not everybody has been able to get the comparison videos out. We do have from the boy IKevinX, which we have used his comparisons before. He did do the comparisons for Vegeta and also for Sky Zamasu, which we'll take a look at that in Zamasu's video, obviously. But we'll watch this at the end of the animation analysis video, and you can also check out IKevinX's channel, because tomorrow, I guess technically today when you're seeing this video, he's actually going to upload the VEGITO and Zamasu one. But obviously, since I'm doing this in the morning of the day that you're seeing this video, he has not been able to upload that just yet. We also have a couple of tweets for a little reference material that Vegeta uses, or VEGITO rather, excuse me. By the way, I am going to try and give like my overall thoughts on this rather than going by every single frame, because this video will be 2 hours long, considering this is a 2-minute and 21-second video, and even when we have a 1-minute 30-second video, sometimes these turn into hour videos. So let's go ahead and try and get into it here. First of all, I think that this is pretty cool with this little introduction sequence here, right? Obviously with the boys sort of turning around. I will say the rotoscoping effect that they're trying to do here, where they kind of have them turn, does look a little bit choppy. I definitely have seen Dokkan do a lot better. And it's weird because even this very last segment here, right, where Vegeta and Goku are turning, looks pretty decent, all things considered. Vegeta's hair does kind of look a little bit weird there, if I'm being honest with you. But, like, it's weird that they kind of have it there, but then in these other sections, they just have them turned in this really choppy way. I don't know. It's just a very weird way to do it. I've seen Dokkan do this before. It almost kind of feels like they're trying to cut corners a little bit. Nonetheless, though, obviously we have the boys standing tall and proud. This section is very, very cool with Vegeta and Goku. I will say the mouth flaps on Vegeta are very, very weird. The lip flaps. I don't know why they feel weird to me, but they definitely feel a little off. Same with Goku. Maybe it's because they don't close their mouths and it's just kind of like wah, 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 wah sort of thing. Regardless, though, these shots look very, very cool, and obviously it is awesome that they stance up for the intro in the same pose that they have for the card art. I think that that is super neat. Some other Dokkan intro animations do that, but I definitely like that motif a lot. So interestingly enough, by the way, this is just like a flipped version of the beginning, right, of this. Obviously, Goku's symbol is not present because, of course, you know, technically it would be like on the other side of his body. But it is definitely a little weird. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I know Goku's chest is, like, huge, but this asset just does not look correct to me, personally, with, like, how much it bulges out here. I don't know, it kind of looks like my man just has a giant tumor on his chest, more so than he has, like, large pecs, I guess. Regardless, though, obviously the aura looks absolutely fantastic. Definitely no denying that. I like the little animation that they have for Vegeta here, with him zooming forward, right? Definitely really cool with not only the step, but obviously the blur that they have looks really, really awesome. They kind of reinforce this by having Vegeta still be in the background, as well as the blur effect sort of on top of him. I really, really like that. That's a nice little neat effect, excuse me. And obviously, right, it's pretty unique because I don't think I've ever seen them do a blur effect exactly like this before. So I definitely like that. Obviously, huge implications of Vegeta's speed going on right there, right? So skipping past the card art here, we have Vegeta flying in to face Goku Black along with Goku, right? That part looks fine with them flying in. I think Vegeta's punch is alright. Nothing too crazy, right? This is just some basic Dokkan Battle punches and kicks. But I feel like it's not really that impactful. I feel like a lot of the punches in this entire section, even the kicks and whatnot, just don't feel like they have a lot of oomph behind them. They don't feel like they have a lot of impact. This first punch from Vegeta maybe is fine, right? But then kind of everything after it I feel like is a little bit too light feeling for me. I definitely like the punches to feel like they have a lot of impact. As well, this whole sequence with Goku is a little strange here, right? So obviously we go from the punching and kicking to Goku punching forward at Goku Black here. But they do a very weird transition, right? Where they kind of trick your eyes a little bit here. So obviously Goku is kind of winding back a punch to hit Goku Black here. But then Goku is still in frame and in the same pose, right? However, now it's from the other way, which would be Goku Black's perspective. Because Goku is trying to wind up this kick now, which kind of looked like a punch in the beginning, to hit him. And I'm sure that they probably do this because it kind of keeps your eyes on the prize, so to speak. Where we obviously have Goku readied up here, and then obviously the pose is very similar, but it changes to a different scene. So it kind of tricks your eyes to kind of still think that you're looking at the same thing. But wouldn't he be flipped in this case, right? If this was going to the next one, like technically his legs I think are in the right spot, but his arms would be flipped around, right? I don't know. Unless I'm just misinterpreting this, I just feel like it's a little bit weird. Regardless, though, the kick, right, definitely looks a bit weird, if I'm being honest with you. Not only the follow-through of it, but the section where Goku actually, like, pushes it forward. It looks like his leg is too short in this section. Like, I know it's trying to be a little bit of perspective, like the foot is sort of closer to your face is kind of the idea. But I don't think it's executed very well, and it ends up making his foot look really short. It doesn't help that it looks like his boot is almost like cut in half, kind of. I don't know why It's drawn like that, but that's just kind of the look that it has. The funny kick from Goku, and obviously Goku Black flying through the building with Vegeta following behind. This looks just fine, and obviously Vegeta crashing into the building to follow the enemy. This kick looks alright, definitely nothing crazy, but obviously just kind of like breaking through the building, right? That is a very, very cool shot, I will say. When I saw that shot, when they showed the essay, I was pretty impressed. Obviously, Vegeta, like, breaking through the building, right? And then, of course, Goku teleporting in on the high speed. And then we get a very nice zoom-in shot of Goku there, which looks pretty cool with him, obviously, hitting down on the enemy to knock them downward. And that does feel like it has a decent amount of impact there. And obviously we have Vegeta fly down, which I believe is a reference to Goku Black versus Vegeta, which would make sense. But then obviously Vegeta kind of pummels him after that. So yeah, ooh, that impact frame is really nice. Overall with the 12 key for the Blue Boys, right? Like, it's nothing crazy. I definitely don't think that it's the worst super that I've ever seen. I feel like I've said that so many times on this series. It just feels very mediocre, though, I think is kind of the feeling that I get from it. Like, it's so weird, right? Because I understand that, of course, when it comes to a character like this that has, like, a transformation, right? You want to put more of your eggs in one basket, so to speak, right? You want to, like, focus on the transformation more. But, I don't know. It's weird to me that, like, they can nail Trunks and Vegeta, which are from the same saga, the same anime, right? The same everything. And those animations look fantastic, arguably better than the anime at some points, and look like they're ripped right out of the anime. But then this looks a little bit choppy and kind of off-putting without a lot of impact. It's just a very weird feeling to me, personally. Regardless, though, moving on to the 18 key, obviously I like that they also reference the card art once again for the actual scene, which is pretty cool. It's kind of weird, too, because that almost makes it seem like that then the intro, right, that goes into them doing that pose sort of then leads into the 18 key, which is kind of interesting. But nonetheless, right, obviously they show their card art there, and we have the boys flying forward here. This looks pretty good with them flying off the ground. I do like this little hair movement as well. Cutting to Goku here I think is just fine. It's a little bit more anime-esque, I think, when you're kind of in like an intense punch scene and you cut right to the character. This looks fine, I will say. I was going to comment on this originally about how this punch is weird and how they kind of cut from this to this. But I know I've definitely seen that in anime before. When a punch is coming in, they kind of do like a rapid amount of cuts. Regardless, though, the fist looks okay, right? And again, like this, right? This particular scene here where they're both punching the enemy. First of all, why do they not show Vegeta for this? I don't know. Why do they not cut from Goku winding up the punch to Vegeta winding up the punch? I don't know. Maybe they thought it was weird if they had Goku and Vegeta throw the punch separately and then it was them hitting them together. I don't know, but it's really weird that they don't show Vegeta winding it up after they like take Vegeta out of the equation for the beginning of this. As well, this just doesn't feel like it has a lot of impact, right? And it's also a very weird cut. Obviously, what this is supposed to imply here... Vegeta, what is Vegeta doing over there, bro? Obviously, what this is supposed to imply is it's both of them hitting him. And then, obviously, it's like a sort of downside view type of thing, right? Where obviously, you're kind of looking from under Goku up at Zamasu and then up at Vegeta. And obviously, it's just kind of like a side view of that, you know, particular like shot. But then obviously you have the enemy fly away and Vegeta kick them up, which I will say that Vegeta kick looks really, really cool. Definitely very, very well done. And I will say I was a little bit scared about this animation because in the preview movie that we got for the celebration, this Kamehameha looked a little weird. I think this animation looks fine, right? But they had a direct cut to the next section of the Kamehameha, and I'm really glad it doesn't look like that. I'm really glad that they actually have Goku do the Kamehameha, and then it cuts to Vegeta readying up the final flash, right? Which looks really great, by the way. And then it cuts to Goku doing the Kamehameha like this, which looks really, really good. The close-up shot looks really, really nice. And the, you know, when he kind of pulls the camera back a little bit, also looks really, really good. I like the transition as well. You know, instead of just doing a jump cut, they kind of have this white flash appear on the screen, to kind of imply that, you know, he just threw the Kamehameha. I like that a lot. And then obviously Vegeta also looks pretty good too. It is a bit of a weird way that they kind of cut between this, right? But I suppose it works just fine. Let me see. So like his big eye is kind of in the frame, right? Where it's sort of shaking a little bit. And then, can we get to it here? Right? He kind of realizes that he's about to fire. And then bam, right to the stinky asset. I'm just kidding. It's not bad. It's only because it's obviously so close up, right? When obviously it's meant to be viewed from like here, right? And this looks much better than it did 5 seconds ago when it was in your face, right? I will say though, this is definitely a very weird angle to see the final flash from. I don't know. Vegeta also feels a little bit stiff to me personally when it comes to how he looks in this final flash pose. It could definitely just be me. But I really feel like he just looks kind of like, I don't know, static, I guess. I mean, I guess he is, but it just looks a little bit too stiff for my taste. We have the final flash, almost said final comment, huh? Final flash launch with this really, really cool spectacle of the electricity effects and the beam effects from Goku and Vegeta, which looks great. This little shot here is super cool with both of them screaming. Really, really like that. And obviously the beams fusing into one looks fantastic. Definitely a very cool job on that. Funny way to kind of include the final Kamehameha as well in this animation without having Vegito do the final Kamehameha. I think that's really funny, honestly. I really like it a lot, honestly. Very, very well done. And I will say, above all else, too, I really like that they also bothered to include the detail of, obviously, Goku would be glowing blue because, of course, the Kamehameha is shining on his face, but Vegeta's blast is yellow, so it would be a little bit more natural colors on him. Definitely some very nice attention to detail there, for sure. Goku must have that blue light filter off 24/7 blow, because all he's looking at is blue light. Anyway, this looks really cool with the amazing spectacle of all the colors shooting out and the blue flames from the blast, as well as the rocks, the smoke effect, right? This is definitely going to be a underrated section of this essay, right? This end part right here, because they just nailed it with the effects on this one. The electricity, the little plume of dust that comes out, right? Oh, man, they cooked on this section. Looks really good. Weirdly enough, it might be my favorite part of that 18 key super. I don't know. Again, I just kind of feel like that this 18 key super is a little bit all over the place. And it kind of feels like that a lot of the stuff does not have a lot of impact. Though, I can definitely tell you that basically from like here out, right, where they work together to fire the beams, definitely like that part of the 18 key. I think that does look pretty good. All right. So now we move on to the fusion animation. This is a very interesting one for me. First of all, I think that the animation overall looks really, really clean, right? I love Goku in the beginning here. He looks absolutely perfect, just like he did in this particular saga. It looks great. Especially, too, I like that not only do they have Goku actually attaching the earring to his ear, right, but they have the earring actually move a little bit in his hand too, which is cool. Obviously, you have the funny Vegeta face, which I will say, I thought that this looked a little bit weird, but this is basically how it looks in the anime, so I think it is just that they animated it really weird with Vegeta's face. It is also, too, because in this scene, right when they're about to fuse, they're also both eating sensu beans. So that's why, or at least Vegeta is. I don't remember if Goku eats one, but I know that for a fact that Vegeta eats one. And that's why his mouth kind of looks that way. Because in this scene, even though it looks very funny and kind of out of character, to be honest, I do like this, though. I feel like something about his face definitely looks a little weird. Like the lines are almost like really thick, but then his eyes look almost like too big or something like that. And again, his mouth looks really weird because this is from the scene where he's chewing the sensu beam, but obviously they don't have him chewing it there. Regardless, though, definitely a very goofy look for Vegeta, but I think it's fine. It looks nice, and it is definitely very stylistic to that part. I like the little Goku nod here. It looks great, right? And then obviously we have Vegeta actually putting on the earring, right? Which looks great too. Yeah, this is, I remember when he's chewing it, because he's chewing it as he's attaching it to his ear. I remember that. Which looks really good too, by the way. Definitely nailed the style of this particular scene. And then, of course, we have the funny fusion, which looks great. You first of all have Goku and Vegeta standing there, right, with the Potara earrings blowing. This is honestly a super nice screenshot. I'm not going to lie. Low-key, I might have to screen cap this and like make an HD version of the shot, because this is like such a good lock screen or something like that. Super cool. But yeah, obviously the lights engulf them, which is really, really cool. Obviously we have this sort of like black and white version of Vegeta, and then we have the fusion between them, which looks awesome, with both of them kind of getting sucked into the same spot. Now, this is an animation that I really, really wanted to talk about ever since. First of all, so cool with the detail of the Potara earring kind of like sparkling right there where the Potara actually is as the light fades away. I wanted to talk about this animation specifically with Vegito's first appearance in this essay ever since we saw it in that initial promo movie, right? So, Vegito looks fantastic. I love this shot right here. This could easily be a meme of Vegito looking at whatever you would want over here. But this shot looks fantastic, right? Of the little bit of the, you know, backwards angle from Vegito with the blue light surrounding him. Definitely like that a lot. This. Okay. So, first of all, Vegito's mouth here really bothers me. I don't know what it is about Vegito's mouth here that like particularly really bothers me. Maybe it's too big or something like that. I think that that has to be it, right? Like it has to be something with the mouth, and the way that his teeth are clenched also looks a little bit weird to me personally. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but there is definitely something about his face that I feel like looks a little bit off to me. That was something that really bothered me ever since I saw this animation initially, to be 100% honest with you. But moving on from that, right, his mouth hole just looks a little bit too big when he's actually talking. As well, by the way, I do want to point something out after this shot. First of all, with this animation right here, the one thing that I do want to mention is, because I have seen this animation in-game now, when you have a character, right, if you are facing a enemy that has a aura of any kind, I guess is the best way to describe it, it looks really, really weird because half of Vegito is covered up. It is usually like out to here, basically. I know my buddy was fighting Rose and I was watching him use Vegito and he transformed him. So that is a little bit of a shaft for this animation for sure. I guess they probably just didn't really think it through, because I'd have to imagine with these animations they usually are probably just like taking into account the sprite that the character is facing, or maybe they just weren't really thinking about it. I'm not really sure, but the actual transformation animation looks really cool, obviously with Vegito kind of getting a little bit smaller there, and then of course the white light sort of engulfing him in the beginning, which looks really, really cool, right? Obviously have this sort of like almost base form aura type of dealio here where they have like the white little glow around them. Looks cool. And then the little explosion of energy looks great as Vegito Blue is born. And by the way, this aura is so gas, bro. Not only does it have that perfect blue with a little bit of the yellow on the edge, a little bit of that yellow kind of right at the center, which is perfect for Vegito Blue. Really, really like that, to be honest with you. It looks fantastic. And obviously we cut to this shot of Vegito Blue screaming, which looks fantastic. Now, I will say, right, regarding this transformation animation as well, I think that this shot looks really good, and I really like this shot of Vegito powering up and screaming here. I did think that this was a bit weird, right? Because obviously the whole thing in this scene is that he jumps up onto a rock, and then he, you know, he's like, you know, oh, you two fuse, so we even the playing field. And then he like flies up a little bit and goes, Vegito Blue, and transforms, right? So it's kind of a little bit off-putting that he's standing on the ground looking up at the enemy. And then obviously powers up from there, and then they kind of have him power up there. I was just kind of a little bit curious as to why they didn't, like, basically just make a better version of Tech Vegito. I am all for more unique Dokkan animations, and having something a little bit more interesting, especially if an animation is already pretty well represented, because the Tech one, albeit I think that the Super Attack animations aren't necessarily the best, the active skill is still pretty good. I think that transformation animation is definitely not too bad. The other interesting thing that somebody pointed out. Shout out to the boy Salad Saiyan. I don't think I need to give him any introduction for the Dragon Ball YouTube space. Salad Saiyan pointed out that this shot definitely looks a lot like this one from the manga, where Vegito Blue appears in obviously Toyotaro's Dragon Ball Super. I am kind of assuming that this is probably correct, that this is a manga reference. I would definitely think that that is the case, and that would kind of make sense as to why this animation is a little bit more different than the, you know, like, proper quote-unquote anime version of the transformation. So I do think that that is pretty cool. Dokkan has been doing a couple more manga references as of recently that we have seen in a couple of cards, so it's nice to see it appear a little bit more. And again, I think it just allows for a little bit more of a unique animation, so I like it. I think it's pretty cool overall. Now, let's get this stinky 12 key super out of the way so we can talk about the big guns here, ladies and gentlemen. So first of all, I do like this establishing shot, I won't lie to you. I definitely like that with Vegito Blue kind of stanced up right in front of the enemy. That is pretty cool if I do say so myself, right? A little bit of the movement on him too, and a little bit of rotoscoping going on here too. I know it's kind of hard to tell because the minimal movement is so minimal, but if you look, his body's kind of twisting a little bit as he's moving, which is definitely pretty cool. I like that a lot. I can't help myself. I'm sorry for laughing. It's just so goofy, bro. Who at the studio approved this? Who thought that this was okay? So you have Vegito Blue stanced up, right? Looking all high and mighty, ready to fight. And then they cut to my man's foot on some Looney Tunes cartoon shenanigans, bro. That extendo Lego, bro, coming out. And you have Vegito basically just be a solid PNG that moves forward, which is criminal, frankly, for a Dokkan Festival transformed, mind you. LR in 2023. No, ladies and gentlemen. This is unacceptable, frankly. This is rancid, bro. They cannot be doing this in 2023. I would forgive this a little bit more if maybe it had a little bit more movement. It wasn't so static. It wasn't so stale, right? But his hair doesn't even move. You don't even have his legs moving a little bit. Obviously, the movement itself just looks really strange. No amount of anime speed lines could save this animation. It's just very dumb looking. It looks like this was an animation project with somebody who's just learning how to animate did for this part. We have the kick, which looks okay, I guess, for this couple of frames here, right? Where the kick actually makes contact with the enemy. Obviously, it's not going to be hitting their face because Dokkan sprites will be Dokkan sprites. But it is still the same PNG of Vegito. They just twisted it a little bit. And they try and kind of have a little bit of like, oh, recoil here by finally having his legs move a little bit there. But it does not really help, to be honest. And obviously they try and make it feel like that Vegito's kicking him away. But this small little animation of him like crunching his leg just that little bit is not enough to convince me that this is a push hard enough to shove a character away that fast, bro. Ain't no way. That animation is very, very goofy. Obviously, we then transition from the enemy flying up in the sky to Vegito readying the kick, which I do think that this looks okay. It's not the worst, but it's definitely not great, and I still feel like Vegito is not even drawn that great, to be honest. Like, I don't want to, obviously I'm trying to analyze these animations and not necessarily disrespect the artist, and I mean, I'm not trying to, but obviously I'm here to critique the animations, and if I see a face or two that looks a little bit off, I'm going to point it out, you know, and Vegito definitely looks a little strange here. This definitely looks like a fan animation for that part, I feel like. At least they have a little bit of leg movement there, and obviously we have Vegito teleport away before we have the kick up. I think that little kick up honestly looks fine, right? Nothing really to phone home about on that one. I think it looks fine. And then, of course, we have the flip, which I will say that section actually looks really, really nice. I'm not going to lie. This particular little spin, right? they decided to start putting money into the SA at this point. Because the rotoscoping actually looks pretty good here. As Vegito teleports in, you have him spin around, which I think looks really, really good personally. And then we have Vegito Blue Kick, which I will say, this one I think is less on the actual animation and more so on the stinky sprite. Because obviously, right, with how the sprites work in the game and the sizes that they display at, depending on the animation and so on and so forth, you're going to end up with shots like this where Zamasu looks giant, which, to be fair, I guess he is giant at one point in this fight. But obviously, that's not what they're going for, and ironically enough, 2 seconds later, he then shrinks down to a very much so smaller SA that feels a lot more so in tune with the size that these two should be compared at. And ironically enough, now Zamasu feels too small, and Vegito's leg does not look like it's in the right spot. But either way, though, we have Vegito move his leg to then get into this rapid kick position. I will tell you, I think that the animation right before this part looks fine, right? When it's the actual, like, transition from this sequence to then going into the kick. But by golly, this looks so bad. I hate to say it, bro. But the bop looks like something from, like, Game & Watch, bro. Where, like, they didn't have the technology to be able to program animation. So, like, they would have his leg, you know, like, the black pixels that would make up his leg, like, were turned off in 3 different sections, right? And then they would just turn on the leg that they needed to represent, like, the different kicks. I know that probably makes no sense, but if you've played the Game & Watch stage in Smash, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Regardless, though, it just feels very stale and certainly not a lot of impact whatsoever. Now, that being said, whew, this shot, very, very cool. Definitely like this one of Vegito. I will say, his body, like, the way that it moves here looks a little weird. I don't dislike it, but it's like he's growing or something. I don't know, it kind of looks like he's going through a giant transformation. It is also very jarring, I will say, to go from this kick where Vegito's kind of smiling to that instantly in your face, bam, there's the man. I don't know, that is definitely a little bit of a weird cut if you ask me. Though, I do like the fact that they kind of reference the fact that his feet are glowing blue with this electricity. And then if we go to this shot, you can see that there's a little blue at the bottom of the frame there. That is pretty cool, a little bit of consistency. But obviously then we have Vegito pull the punch back, which is kind of weird because obviously this looks fine in the beginning, but I feel like they could have easily included like one more frame in here, because obviously going from the funny like close-up of Vegito, right? Where is the frame change? There we go. You go from this to this, which is very jarring. Also, like, Vegito's chest, I swear, looks like 5 times bigger in this shot than it does here. But yeah, definitely I feel like they could have done something to improve that. And it's something about the eyes in this particular, like, art that, like, they're too long or something like that. Like, this looks a lot more anime accurate and a lot more accurate to Toriyama's art style than this. I don't know, this almost kind of looks like a fan image of Vegito for that particular frame. But anyway, we have this little blue kick, which is pretty cool, kicking Zamasu away with the little blue soccer ball. That's not too bad, right? I still feel like it doesn't have a crazy amount of impact, but it's certainly a lot better than some of the other stuff that we've seen in this essay thus far. And the 12-key super attack. Vegito bringing his arms forward looks okay. It is a little bit weird, again, with how static Vegito is for the Final Flash animation. I do like these little bits of electricity going into the Final Flash, and obviously it's nice that they reference a little bit of electricity that comes along with it. Obviously, you have the card art, and then, of course, the launch from the back, which, again, like, no movement, right? No hair movement, no clothes moving, none of that. The lighting, excuse me, is very nice, I will admit, right, with the big, bright yellow light that is obviously showing on Vegito rather, and it is very cool that he's doing the Final Flash at all. I think the Final Flash effect itself also doesn't look too bad. I think that looks just fine, especially the beginning, but the actual like beam looks alright too. But I think the thing is, for me, right, when it comes to animations like this, it really makes the animations feel a lot less lifelike, which I know is very silly to say, but it makes me feel like I'm watching an animation in a video game or a fan animation and not watching Vegito. on screen. You know what I mean? The 18 key and the active skill certainly give me that impression that I feel like I'm just watching Vegito fight. But especially with this 12 key super attack, this to me just feels like a Dokkan animation rather than, you know, the actual character doing their thing. It's weird. It's almost like that little bit of an immersion break that I kind of get from this, which sounds so weird talking about a Dokkan SA, but it's the only thing I can really compare it to when talking about, you know, how good these animations look, and it blows me away, and I'm like, wow, that was incredible, versus like, oh, look at this error, and this error, and this error, and this doesn't look good, and this doesn't look good. So, again, keep in mind, this is all just my opinion, but let me know in the comments what you think about this 12 key, because I would definitely be very curious to know. Even like here, right, his Potara earrings don't move at all, which you would think they'd be flopping around here, and I know for other characters who have Potara, they've done that before, so I don't know. It's kind of weird to me that they didn't decide to do that. By the way, I know we're very late into this video, but as of course we have to say in these videos, hydrate or dihydrate. Make sure you're drinking water, ladies and gentlemen. And let's get into the 18 key super attack. Now, this super, really, really cool, because this was a Dokkan original. Ironically enough, this little beginning part, I guess, is technically not a Dokkan original. It's referencing from something else, but the rest of this is Dokkan original as far as I know. Maybe they took some stuff from Super Dragon Ball Heroes, which we'll kind of see in a second, but regardless, the composition is certainly Dokkan original. And I have to give props to Bandai, because a lot of the time when they do Dokkan original animations, they end up not really looking that good. There's a lot of times, and I feel like I comment on it, ironically enough, whenever I see an animation that is not something that's just ripped from the anime and Dokkan made it themselves, it usually doesn't look that good. And ironically enough, it's flipped this time around, where everything from the anime I feel like doesn't look that good, and the Dokkan original looks fantastic. So I have to give props to Bandai for making the Dokkan original animation look really good. So obviously, to start this off right, we have Vegito holding the little ball of ki with the electricity in his hands, which looks really, really cool. Throwing it up in the sky, which looks awesome, with these two little ki blasts, and dude, look at it. This is one of the craziest shots in Dokkan Battle. Insane. Absolutely insane. We're going to take a look at this in like a little bit of a deep dive in a second, but I did want to point out the really interesting thing about this is two things. For one, this little section of the little ki orbs actually is in reference to this Dragon Ball Super intro right here, where Goku is kind of playing with these little ki orbs swirling around him, which is a neat little reference. I definitely think that that's pretty cool. And ironically enough, Super Dragon Ball Heroes actually had an animation very similar to this. Obviously not the exact same. I mean, of course, because that key sword animation is not really like included in the same way. But the beginning part of this, obviously, where Vegito kind of has these little ki orbs swirl around him, right? Definitely, you can see they took some clear inspiration for this. Obviously, he throws these like an attack rather than doing the double spirit sword. But it is definitely a cool little reference, and obviously STBH, you know, has been making original animations for characters for so long now, considering how many cards there are of every character. Like, they're going to run out of Dragon Ball attacks at some point, right? So, definitely a cool little reference to both of these things, 100%, right? Very, very cool stuff. So obviously Vegito throwing this up in the sky looks good, bro. You could easily Photoshop a Spirit Bomb into Vegito's hand here, by the way. I love how these little boys separate. They are very, very cool. These little doodads, these little guys right here, right? The little ki blasts. By the way, the lighting on Vegito's hair looks awesome, right? Definitely like that. With obviously you can see there's a little bit of a glow from the ki, and it kind of dissipates as the little orbs begin to flow around him, which is awesome. And not only is the impact frame really, really sick here, right? Where obviously, first of all, you can see the light glowing in Vegito's hands, which obviously kind of shines down on him with the yellow lighting, which is cool. This impact frame is sick. And then obviously the impact frame is what transitions into the beautiful shot that is easily the most iconic, I think, out of this entire unit's animations. Dude, like, I'm gonna watch this sequence like 5 more times before I go to bed. It's so good. So cleanly animated as well. And the other really cool thing is they did not animate like the light kind of flowing around him, which would have been really difficult to do, but you can see that there is that little bit of yellow from the Ki Blast there, or the Ki Sword rather, excuse me. So that is pretty cool. Obviously we have this shot from the back with Vegito having the Keyblade in his hand and obviously the little orbs kind of flying around him. Oh, they actually do hit Zamasu. I don't know why I forgot about that. It is cool too. You can see kind of there's a little bit of a little hint that there's going to be a double Ki Sword action going on here. But yes, the little Ki Blasts do hit the enemy here. They obviously fly forward, which looks really good, and then kind of bounce around against the enemy, which this animation looks really good. Super underrated, I feel like, these little Ki Blasts kind of bouncing off the enemy there. Which again, like obviously with the SDBH animation, it's not exactly the same because once they fly away, they basically just explode against the enemy. But still, very cool reference to the original. Nonetheless, obviously after the card art here, we have the double Ki Sword, which first of all looks amazing with Vegito Blue flying in, right? You can see it kind of form, right? The little twinkle in his hand, and then of course it becomes a full Ki Blade, which looks awesome, right? Both of these look super, super cool. And obviously Vegito flies towards the enemy. All this animation looks good, and this I think is a perfect place to change between assets here, right? Because you can see obviously these styles are a little bit different, but because of how fast he's flying forward and the placement of the asset change, it is hidden very, very well in there. We also have, oh my gosh, dude, there's so much to dissect here. So first of all, right, we have obviously after Vegito passes by the camera, right, you have this shot from the back where Vegito is looking at the enemy, which looks great. You have the little Ki Blast kind of bouncing off the enemy. This shot is really, really cool with obviously Vegito looking at the enemy, right? And then as the Ki Blasts are bouncing against Zamasu, you have Vegito absolutely giving the beat down. And ladies and gentlemen, right, before we even get to this crazy section of sort of the first person POV, this is how you do impactful hits. These feel like they have a ton of impact. They feel like they're doing a ton of damage. Vegito is not only obviously winding up properly, but recoiling a little bit and giving a lot more impactful. The body has a lot of following through movements to really imply how hard that he is going. This looks so much better than the rest of the parts in this essay where characters are doing rapid punches, especially with Goku and Vegeta. It makes me so sad that they didn't cook with the rest of these essays because it shows that they can do such a good job, and I understand that obviously they want to focus on the big boy unit. I get that. But you gotta make the rest of the unit look good too, and not to mention, obviously when it comes to the Vegito 18 Ki, like, you're not only going to be seeing the 12 Ki more, because obviously that's the additional super attack, you're going to be seeing the blue boys more than anything, because obviously not only are Vegito's transformation conditions a little stinky, you have to be under 70% after 5 turns. Not only that, but obviously the 18 Ki, you launch it once, and then obviously as long as Vegito's on the rotation, if you get the 18 Ki, you'll see it again, but it's not going to repeat with additional supers, so that's also why it is such a shame. But either way though, we obviously have this first person POV of Vegito, which looks so good, dude. They cooked on the animation. Oh my gosh. So first of all, right, not only is this super cool with like the bits of yellow kind of like slashing across the screen. Let me see if I can get like to the very beginning of this animation here. This part, right? So first of all, Vegito in the beginning looks so good the way that he is drawn. Obviously slashing against the screen. Look at how well this hand is drawn, dude. It's so good. They absolutely cooked. Looks amazing if I do say so myself. Very, very nice looking. I love the key effects as well. And this is a great way, by the way, to mask the character actually like moving, quote unquote, right? Because you can see that it looks like the hand is right against the screen, and then the light engulfs the screen, and Vegito's hand is now down here as if he slashed. And obviously with the key separating, you can see that Vegito already has his arm down. A great way to kind of block out your perspective for this. And they have the Ki Blast floating in the background the entire time, the ones that are spinning around Vegito. Looks so good, dude. As well, then obviously we move on to the next part, which is another fantastic shot here, right? Another slash, right? The same type of dealio with obviously the kind of beam flying forward, just this whole section is executed so entirely well. I love the way the Vegito is drawn here. I love the way that the hands are drawn. I love the way that the blasts are kind of given off, right? The key blasts that are floating around Vegito the entire time, right? This animation is just so incredibly well done. We have the final hit, which obviously Vegito kind of flies a little bit back, and then the 2 key blasts that were assisting our boy the entire time fly into the enemy and explode on contact finally, which not only does that explosion, by the way, look so good, right? But the actual animation of them flying forward and the very dynamic movement that they have, the very lifelike movement, is so nice looking. It's way better than when they just do a sphere for a key blast. It looks so much better and so much more like how keys should look in the anime. But that's not where this animation is done, right? Like, you would think like, oh, okay, homie exploded, right? The animation was fantastic. No, Vegito's coming in for more, brother. My man is flying through, giving us these very nice impact frame slashes. Very, very cool stuff. Obviously, this looks super nice, and obviously it's a nice implication of a bunch of these slashes. And then, oh, smoke, dude. The smoke clearing from Vegito looks so good. Oh my gosh, right? Obviously, we have a little bit of the split screen from the yellow light, from obviously energy from the Spirit Sword, which is really, really cool. Of course, we have a little bit of the black, and then it fading away, right? The smoke effects, the key from Vegito, bro. Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen. This shot right here, raw, is the only word that I have to describe this. So good looking, dude. That's why it's such a shame that this 18 key is only going to be seen like half the time that you're using this unit, because by golly, is it just so good. And here's what I'm talking about. Look at this. The Batara earrings shake here. You can see that they're moving around a little bit, right? You can see that they bothered animating it for this, so why didn't they do it for the 12th key? I don't know. But this shot of Vegito is fantastic, and you would think, oh, okay, like it ends there, right, with Vegito on the screen, because that could be the kill screen. No, now my man brings his hands together, fantastic lighting effects, to make a key blast with the energy that was in his hands for the swords, and blast Samasu with it, which looks even better. And not to mention, the hair is flowing here, again. Why was the hair not flowing in the 12th key? I don't know, but even in this little small asset, you can see the hair flowing. And we have these fantastic black and white impact frames, which gives you this really cool sense of how, like, actually powerful this blast is, right? So cool looking. And a beautiful transition to this blast flying out into space, which ironically enough looks like a giant Vegito key's sword, rather, before it obviously dissipates. This animation is so good that it makes me sad that the rest of the unit is so stinky. I don't think I've ever said that before for a Dokkan animation before. But by golly, it's true for this guy. It's just so good. This is one of the best animations I have ever seen come out of Dokkan Battle. And it's crazy to me that this is the same unit that has flying forward PNG kick Vegito. The discrepancy in my mind actually melts it, bro. Crazy. Regardless of my sadness for the rest of the animations, let's finally take a look at the active skill, ladies and gentlemen. The active skill, they cooked. They cooked. Oh my gosh. So we have Vegito standing in the sky looking over Zamasu. Of course, the iconic punch and beatdown, which looks really, really nice. They did a very good job with that, right? Obviously, that is a pretty iconic moment from the Vegito Blue fight. No complaints from me there. Looks very, very nicely animated. And we have this great shot. Oh, the funny Yosha pose. That's the only thing missing from the big man himself. He doesn't say Yosha in any of his voice lines, which is a real shame. But I mean, I don't know where they would have included it anyway. Regardless, though, this looks really cool with obviously this animation of Vegito standing there first, right? And then obviously his arms kind of moving to form the funny Vegito pose, right? Which obviously looks fantastic. And the aura buildup looks so good with the way that it swirls around the character before crescendoing into the actual key, which looks fantastic. And the lighting on my guy just looks so good, dude. Oh my gosh. I can't get over it. It's so nicely animated. The lighting in this essay, really, really cooking. So this is cool with how they kind of move out a little bit from this shot, right? They kind of back the camera up after Vegito's done talking, and I guess you would consider this rotoscoping. Like, I guess this technically is, right? Because it makes it feel a little bit more 3D. But this asset somehow seems to, like, stay HD the entire time. And you can see this is where they actually transition into the asset that's going to be a little bit more farther away. But because of how they position it, and in the place that it's in this full sequence, it feels a lot more fluid than some other animations do, right? So we now have Vegito way in the back, little small guy right there, and we have him fly forward, which looks great. Super nice looking animation here. You literally cannot tell where this asset changes from this like small little one here to this very nice looking HD one, right? I guess it must be right here, and it's really cool too that they do this a lot with auras, where the character is kind of like a little bit less able to be seen, almost like a little bit cloudy with the aura. Before they come into the frame more, you can kind of see them a little bit better in the aura. That's definitely something they've done in Dragon Ball before, so it's cool to see them reference that. Vegito flying forward, and obviously a perfect place to do a pose jump. You guys know that I'm always like, ew, they jump the poses. But this is perfect because obviously it's the implication of, you know, this quick movement to then throw the punch. And oh my gosh, dude. This shot right here, right? So first of all, the actual like winding up looks fantastic. I love this angle of obviously like his fist is kind of right next to the camera. And all of the frames here are just so perfect in the way that they stretch out Vegito's body, right? To be able to kind of give the effect of how crazy this punch is in this awesome camera angle, right? They do such a good job with it. Obviously, it looks a little bit goofy when we're pausing on the frames, but of course, it's supposed to be viewed as a full animation, and it looks great. Not only that, obviously, then we have the punch against Zamasu. I will say, the one thing that is a bit of a shame here with this in particular is I was like, oh my gosh, maybe they're finally going to update the enemy sprites, because in the promo movie, they used the wallpaper, and I think they animated it a little bit, maybe with some of the essays, or just gave it some effects or something like that. Unless it really wasn't animated, I'm just like misremembering that, giving myself some Mandela effect type beat. But this still looks fantastic with Vegito standing there, and obviously the hair moving, the aura moving, everything looks great. I love the little white light that they have before it kind of covers the background. They cooked on this part, dude. It is so good. Obviously, this moment is such an iconic shot of Vegito, right, with this particular scene, but by golly, having Goku and Vegeta in here is just so cool. So first of all, like, they kind of pan in and out, or not pan in and out, they kind of cut in and out in the shot in the anime, which is super cool to see that that's what they did here, right? And then this shot right here where they have Goku and Vegeta kind of float in with the same expression that Vegito has before fusing together and then being Vegito. Literally, like, I want to cry. It's so good. And the cool thing about this as well is I know a lot of people were thinking that this was going to be the iconic fighters essay, where it's kind of like from the side where it shows Goku and then Vegito, but it's almost kind of like a first, or not first person, but it's almost kind of like a front angle version of that. It's not exactly the same thing because obviously that flashes Goku and Vegeta on the screen, but you know, this one has them both on the screen at the same time. Regardless, it just looks so good. And by the way, I have to mention, the colors here look amazing. Immaculate. The coloring in this section, like, I don't know what it is about it, but it makes me like go crazy with delight because it is just so well done. I love the glow. It looks so nice. So we then have the punch, obviously from really far away with the energy flowing everywhere. You can see that crazy light, by the way, shooting out of Vegito here, that like blue light that's kind of showing that way. Looks really, really nice. Before all the rocks and whatnot explode, and you can see Vegito standing there with his fist forward. It's really hard to see Vegito there. He kind of looks like he's black and white for some reason, actually, which is kind of interesting. But obviously the energy flowing around him, right, you can see the ki kind of dissipate, which is crazy that even for this small of an animation, right, they have the ki not just like disappear, but it actually like breaks apart, right, and then disappears proper. We have the energy flowing in the background. Yeah, Vegito. Oh, I see. It's like the color is there, and then it kind of goes into the regular color of Vegito. And then obviously we have Zamasu fly through a bunch of buildings, which looks pretty good, right? Nothing too crazy, but obviously it looks nice with finally hitting the building. And then we have the fantastic KO screen, which first of all, love that they even bothered to include the aura again, kind of dissipating off of Vegito here as the camera pans up to him, which is really cool. And the glowing eyes are such a nice touch. Again, this is one of those things that is completely unnecessary, and I feel like when I say that, it's almost taken in a negative connotation, but it is a very positive connotation, because it's one of those things that they didn't need to include, but they did, and it makes it so much better. It is so cool looking, as well with the camera angle panning up, and obviously a little bit of the shaking camera on Vegito, before obviously the little smirk is so good, his eyes finish glowing, and they pan out to reveal that the smirk that you saw here is actually Vegito standing there from punching Zamasu, which is such a cool little detail. Dude, holy cow, this active skill is so good. Oh man. Alright, I do want to watch, before I give my final thoughts, the little video that we do have from IKevinX, which is basically just the animations for Goku and Vegeta, and then the Vegito transformation, because I will say they definitely did a very good job on mimicking the anime as much as possible, right? When it comes to these animations, they are very faithful from the anime. You can see that there are a couple of things that are a little bit different when it comes to like the angles and stuff like that, and obviously the way that Dokkan does it, right? Combining different scenes together from the anime, right? Obviously some of this was Vegeta's fight, some of this was Goku's fight, and obviously combining it together to make a complete animation, right? Nonetheless though, it still looks pretty good, right? And it's definitely very faithful. It doesn't help that a lot of this section, the Goku Black arc, you can see the animation was definitely not it in some of these areas. So it's certainly a little harder to kind of take from some of these scenes, right? Especially like if we'll go back and look at the 18 key more in a second. Oh, interesting that they're using the, isn't this when Zamasu grabs him, I think? When he grabs Trunks, or when Rose and Goku Black maybe grab Trunks, I think is what this is from. Interesting. Regardless, though, like, yeah, like, if we're looking at this, right, like, Goku, in the actual anime there, right, Vegeta looks a little bit weirdly animated there, Goku's face there, oh my gosh, that is disgusting, Vegeta's face even here, right, so it makes sense that some of these Dokkan animations aren't necessarily the craziest, because even this section of animation in actual Dragon Ball Super is just not that, like, great in and of itself, so Dokkan definitely improves upon at least the faces a lot, I would say. We do have the actual fusion animation, though, which, again, I kind of wanted to... Oh, yeah, he also pointed out the voice in his video, because Goku sounds a little weird on Global, but... Nonetheless, though, again, yeah, I mean, basically, like, 1-for-1 to the anime. I would say that I even kind of like it a little bit more in Dokkan with the way that they shade it. It feels a little bit less, like, I don't know, like, shiny or something like that. Regardless, though, yeah, basically 1-to-1 when it comes to everything before Vegito. And obviously, again, you have Vegito standing on the little rock there. And this is exactly what I was talking about, right? It's a little bit different than the actual anime. I guess that's another thing that this could be taken a reference as to, technically, that shot of Vegito, yeah. And then, obviously... I didn't even know this was in here. I'm sorry. I did not mean to bring Beast Gohan up in this video. I did not see this part of IKevinX's video. I cannot speak. I'm losing my mind right now. This next section is Sky Zamasu, so we'll take a look at him in Zamasu's video. But I just wanted to show that even though these animations are not necessarily the craziest, I feel like, in terms of the animation department, they still did a good job staying faithful to the anime, which I can really appreciate. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our animation analysis on the Blue Boys and Vegito Blue. I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. I cannot believe that this video is basically under an hour long, considering that I know I have done longer videos than this on essays that were shorter than this. But I tried to condense my thoughts so this didn't end up being a 2-hour video. But please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Again, I think overall, the Blue Boys animations are just kind of okay. Vegito's 12th key, I think, is worse than the Blue Boys animations, to be honest with you. But the 18 key and the active skill are quite literally peak. Like, and I don't use that word lightly, because I know we joke about peak all the time, but like, they are literally just that good that they top you're hard pressed to find a better animation in the game, right? This year we have had lots of very stinky animations, but we have had some really fantastic bangers, right? And I think that the active skill and the 18 key easily earn their spot in that S tier animation that has come out of Dokkan this year. Akatsuki is really in their bag, and that is what I mean. It really makes me sad to see an animation like this that could easily be better, considering you see how well they did on the 18 key and the active skill. It's really weird. I feel like before with Dokkan animations, they kind of focused a little bit more on the overall animation. Sorry if you can hear that plane outside, by the way. They focused on the overall animations of a unit and making them like kind of just good overall, but it feels like recently they've been focusing on a few and making them absolutely cracked out of their mind, but the rest of the animations kind of suffer a little bit for it. That is kind of the feeling that I've gotten a lot from more recent Dokkan animations. So you can let me know if you agree in the comment section below 100%. Again, I really don't think any of these animations are bad, except for Vegito's 12 key. I actually think that one might just be bad. But even the blue boys are just kind of like, alright. But these animations, the 18 key and the active skill, perfecto. Very, very nice. I am so happy that I was able to pull this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck if you are still summoning for the boy Vegito Blue. Let me know again your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy. And I will catch you in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.